Another crypto video, another down day for Bitcoin, right? I mean, that's the word on the street, story of the day every day. Seems like Bitcoin just keeps coming down. And unfortunately, here on GDEX, I mean, looking at the 1 day chart, it only goes back to, early November, basically. So it's kind of hard to see what it's actually doing. But you can see that, this is still definitely a flag pattern. It definitely right now is in a bear market. It's coming down, obviously. So we're just kind of trying to figure out where this next level of support is going to come in. Like I said before in some other videos, right now I think you're seeing a lot of downtrending just because of the fact that we haven't had any good news on Bitcoin in a long time, right? So it seems like you keep hearing all these negative news. Obviously, if the price of Bitcoin goes down, that's hitting headlines everywhere, just like it did when we were hitting new highs. It seemed like every other day we we're hitting new highs. Now that it's coming down and it's coming down, that's the kind of news that we're getting. So I think you got a lot of people that basically started getting involved with Bitcoin as it was rising because it was making new highs, and ultimately what you saw was it hit this peak of 20,000, and then a lot of people that invested earlier in the year when Bitcoin was say $1,000, they took profits at 20,000. I almost guarantee that's what happened here, and you saw this big pullback, like the next day basically, or over the next few days really. But basically, like I said, I think that's because you saw a lot of people that were already early investors that might have had several Bitcoin. Once it got to $20,000, they sold, bringing the price back down, and it started to climb back up, and then we had another big sell. And basically, this is because we double topped at that $20,000 mark. And again, anybody that didn't sell their coins that were early investors at this $20,000 mark, they came to market and started selling theirs. When it hit 20,000 here, and then basically, it started coming back down again. And when you had this one really big day, this big drop that we had that dipped down to 10,500 right before Christmas, I think a lot of that was just people that were getting in, throughout this range, where they're right around, I don't know, 17,000, we'll call it. Once they started seeing that they were losing money at this point at 16,000, they started to panic sell, and that's why you saw a big dip, right away. A lot of these investors that were selling up here probably bought back, down here because they knew that it wasn't going to hold. So they bought back and they brought the price back up, and up to the $14,000 range or whatever. But basically, all this selling that you're seeing right now is people that are afraid of loss. They're letting their emotions get in their way of their trading, and basically, anybody that bought at the $14,000 mark or above, now they're seeing losses and they're just trying to get out. They're basically telling their wives that they made a mistake. I invested in something I shouldn't have, and they're trying to sell, which is just bringing the price down. Ultimately, long term, obviously I don't think this is going to hold. I think Bitcoin is going to go higher. It's going to probably make new highs later on this year. It's just a matter of when that happens. Like I said before, waiting for some kind of big positive news to come out, whether it's an Amazon or a Facebook or something like that starts accepting Bitcoin, Walmart or whatever, just any kind of big power hitter comes out accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. You're going to see the price take off. And then obviously if any other big news kind of comes out with Bitcoin, whether it's other billionaire investors get into it or whatever it is, just positive news is going to bring this price back up. But that being said, again, on GDEX you can't go back that far, which kind of sucks. So I'm going to just go over to CoinMarketCap, and this is like the lifetime of, almost the lifetime of Bitcoin, and you can see, it traded sideways for years where it was just in this like basically $200 to $400 range for all of 15 and 16, right? And then in 2017 we started getting little pops where it started hitting new highs, and then all of a sudden the price just skyrocketed, right? And now we're seeing it pull back. So how low can it go? I'm not 100% sure. Like as of right now, we're right around 10,000, which I think would be a good level of support just because it's a big fat round number. But that's not to say that it won't drop below that. There's definitely a possibility it can drop down even here to $6,000 or $7,000 before it turns back around. But I wanted to show you guys this chart real quick, just because when you're looking at it, like even if you look at this little hump over here, the price of Bitcoin basically went from $130 a coin all the way up to over $1,000 a coin, right? So that was a huge run up in that situation, and then it had a big pullback. But ultimately, it did trade sideways for a while until we started getting new news over the last couple. Over all of 2017 was definitely a big year of Bitcoin, so that was all driving the price up, and it just grew a heck of a lot faster than it had any time before in the past. So again, you're getting a lot of new investors coming in, driving this price up. It's going crazy, going crazy, going crazy. And then people that bought in and stay down at this level, around the $2,000 level. I mean, who in their right mind is going to hold on to all their Bitcoin if you bought at 2,000 and it went to 20,000? Say you bought one coin. You bought one coin at 2,000 and you could sell it at 20,000. That's an $18,000 profit in a very, very short period of time. I mean, you're talking in a matter of a few months, right? So anybody would be smart to sell at 20,000. Again, it's a big fat round number, so why wouldn't you sell? But that being said, it's definitely coming down. We're going to have to see how far it comes down. But this spike ultimately someday will look just like these spikes over here, all along this path. Even this spike way back here, that little spike looked like this at one point, and I think this spike is gonna be doing the same thing again. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I think the price is gonna go, sky high someday. I think it will reach $1 million a coin. How far out in the future is that? I'm not 100% sure. But the thing that you got to remember is so many people were getting into this in the last few months during this huge, massive run-up of Bitcoin, right? Where Bitcoin was just going crazy, and everywhere you turned, that's all you heard was Bitcoin, Bitcoin. But look at its past. I mean, this thing was flatlined forever. I mean, years. Now, don't get me wrong. If you bought in when it first came out in 2008, 2009, or whatever, when it was pennies, this is a huge run-up, and you might be thinking, it's not going to get much higher than that. But I guarantee you, if you bought it right here at $393 a coin, and you bought several coins, you'd be a fool not to sell it at $20,000 a coin and basically bring that price back down. So, again, not sure how far this is going to come down. I'm hoping it'll at least hold the $10,000 mark. If it drops below that, it's going to get kind of scary. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of people selling their positions because they're getting scared. But right now, this is still a descending triangle, basically. So we just got to try to find out where that next level of support is going to be. And you'll see that, once it hits that level of support, which, this is some good support here at about 97.75. So again, if it gets down to there, we're watching to see if it bounces off of it. If it doesn't, it can crash even lower. Just like I said before this big day happened, I said that it was bouncing off of support. So if it bounced off, it could run. But it's a 50-50 shot, guys. Like, I never buy at levels of support or resistance. They are the worst place to buy. What I did on this day, because like I said, I was watching for this level of support, I said it can either bounce off of it and take off, similar to what it did on this little hump, or it can completely fall through. So when I'm watching this chart, as soon as it hit this mark at, basically 12,800, I'm watching that mark. When it hit 12,750, I sold my position because I knew this was going the wrong way. It wasn't bouncing off of this level of support, right? So I sold my position, I watched it and watched how far it would fall. I didn't buy back perfectly. I didn't buy back at $9,000. I waited till it bounced off of 9,000 and I bought back right around 10,000, right? And then I was able to make that profit when it got back up to 11,000. So that's what I'm looking at. You're trying to find the bottom, but you don't want to time the perfect bottom. You don't want to time the perfect top. Even like trading over in here, as this was coming down, I'm not buying on this day. I'm not buying on this day. I'd be buying on this day once it broke this level of support. So at the very top of this day is when I'd be buying, and then I'm watching it. And once this day kind of came in and you can see that it wasn't really spiking much higher, I'm getting ready to sell because this is a signal saying that the pattern is going to reverse and it's going to go down. So I'm looking for a time to sell. Now, I might not sell perfectly at the top. I might wait till it comes down a little bit, and once it starts kind of breaking the previous day's low, that's when I'll sell. So on a situation like that, when I'm buying here, towards the top of this candle, and I'm holding for a few days, I'm basically waiting until it came back down and selling, so I'm still making a profit, basically buying at right around 15,000 and then selling at 16.5 basically is what I was trying to do. So that's a $500 profit. If you can buy one whole coin, that'd be a $500 profit, right? And that's basically all I'm trying to do. Same with this day over here when I'm watching this level of support, because you got all these candles that are touching that same line. Same thing. I'm waiting to see if it's going to break through that support and fall, or if it bounces off the support and runs. If it would have bounced up, I'm waiting for it to break basically top of these candles. Because if it goes above those candles, I know that there's a good chance that it's going to continue to go up until it reaches this level. And then I'd be watching it here, trying to find the time to sell. That being said, when this broke through that level of support, like I was talking about before, when it broke through dropping, I sold because I knew that this was going down. It had to go down. I mean, it dropped below support. So now anybody that bought at the support, they're losing money. And if they're losing money, chances are they're going to panic and sell. And that's exactly what happened. You had a whole bunch of panic selling 2 days in a row. And then down in here, I knew it wouldn't, I didn't know for sure, but when it hit 9,000, at this point, I'm holding and waiting to see if that price turns around. And once it started coming back up, again, like I said, I bought back in, and then I let that run up until I saw it, starting to top out at these candles. So I guess the whole point of this video, guys, is I'm just trying to show you the levels of support and resistance, and then never try to time the bottom, never try to time the top. All you want to do is get the meat of the move. For ease of use or ease of understanding, guys, I'm going to use these two candles over here. So if I see that this is climbing up and then it starts having a breakout, I might buy, around this 12.5, and it continue to rise. Not any big signs of it pulling back. It only had a little tiny candle wick at the top of this one, so it wasn't like a huge sign of pulling back. So I'm still watching it. The next day it kind of dipped down a little bit, but you're still in profit here. So either you sell and take some profit, or you kind of hold on to it and see where it goes. While that's happening, obviously the price continued to take off. So ultimately what you're trying to do, buy somewhere mid-range of this candle, basically right above the top of this peak, because that's setting the new high. So you're going to buy there, and you're going to watch it, and you're going to try to time it. But basically, once it got up to 20,000, you should have been hitting the sell button for sure if you're holding for that long. But if not, as you started to see it come back down from 20,000, because it basically came down from 20,000 back down to 17.5. As soon as it started coming down from 20, you should start selling and taking your profits, right? Because it's coming back down. And then obviously the next few days it came back down. Star doji, a reversal pattern. This would have been a good signal to buy the next day. Obviously, you're waiting until it gets back above the previous day's high. So you're buying in here, watching it run. As soon as it started pulling back, you could have sold and got your profit. Or, if you're willing to hold a little bit longer, obviously you sold a few days later at a higher price. But all I'm trying to say is don't try to buy on the resistance or on the level of support just because it's the level of support. So like on this day, you wouldn't want to try to buy at 12,800, which had been the previous support on 5 different candles basically. You wouldn't want to try to buy there. You're waiting to see what's going to happen, because if it falls through, obviously you're going to lose money. But if you're waiting and watching and you see that it does bounce off of it and it comes back up and it's meeting at least the previous day's high, now you're looking at a good chance of buying, because it should continue to go up. But on this day, obviously that didn't happen, and it plummeted. It broke through that level of support and it fell on its face. It went all the way down to 9,000. I mean, within the next day, it got down, basically 9,100, call it 9,000. But then again, that's when you're looking to buy. So you've seen this, come crashing down, and then it turns around. Buying on the way back up is where you want to be. And again, you're not trying to take all of it, so you're not trying to time the perfect top over here. But say you bought on this day at 9,800, the next day you could have sold at 11,000. I mean, that's a huge gain. That's $1,200 if you would have bought one whole coin. You could have made $1,200 in a day. That's easy money. So, but you're also not trying to time it to get the very, very top. And that's all I'm trying to get. That's the whole point I'm trying to get across in this video, guys. Whenever you're buying and selling, just try to take the meat of the move. Don't try to time the perfect bottom. Don't try to time the perfect top, because you'll end up biting yourself in the butt, especially on a day like this, where if you're trying to time the perfect bottom thinking, well, 3 days ago the low was at 12.9, so I'm going to buy at 12.9 because it's going to bounce. Well, there's nothing for sure saying that it's going to bounce off 12.9. And on that day, obviously it didn't. Same thing with over here. You could have bought in here thinking, okay, it's going to go back up to 20. Well, it didn't reach 20 right away in a couple days, right? I mean, it did ultimately reach 20 again before it come crashing back down. But if you're buying in here, then why not sell up here? Because you're making that much profit. So you don't have to time perfectly the bottoms and the tops. That's all I'm trying to get at. Watch your levels of resistance and support. Right now, we're trying to find that level of support. I thought we had support, built up pretty good at right around here, about 11,300. But obviously we've dropped through, and now this last candlestick over here at 10.5 is basically our support. We're trying to watch and see if we can hold above that. If not, this thing can keep falling. And really, there's not any more levels of support. I mean, right here at like 99, 99.40 is basically what this is. That's your next strongest level of support, because you got all these candles right here that are touching it. If it drops through that, we can come back down to 8,000. So there's only three ways a cryptocurrency or a stock can move, right? It's up, down, or sideways. So right now we're really hoping that we can start seeing some sideways action, some good like 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row that's just really trading sideways before we get our next takeoff. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. If it does, leave a comment below, just saying, don't buy the bottoms, don't buy the tops, or don't always expect to sell the top, something like that. Some kind of comment along those lines, guys. And then make sure you subscribe to this channel, share it with people that you know, and I'm going to try to teach you as much as I can to help you grow your crypto. Subscribe, like, share, and God bless.